and is in the interest of Lee, minor child. Non-custodial party is Alexander S. Daniel. Custodial party is Shanice D. Lee. And this matter is before the court on a request, a petition to establish parent-child relationship. The court will note for the record that we're operating under a second temporary order in this matter. I think the original one was in April of last year, and the next one was in November of 2023. Anyway, the court will note for the record that both parties are present. The ad litem is present. The state is present. And I understand the state has called a witness for today's date also. So at this time, I'll ask the state for an opening to tell the court what the state's requesting we do here today, whether or not you're requesting this to be a final hearing. And then I'll ask for an opening from the ad litem for that same information and ask him what he's requesting we do here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's the ad litem's witness, Your Honor. The state's request is to finalize the temporary order, at least with regard to the financial aspects. And then I would defer to Mr. Brimhall with all things conservatorship, possession, and access.
Judge, regarding the issue of conservatorship, I'm asking that the mother be named as the sole managing. I believe she already may be listed as the sole managing in a prior order. If not, I'm requesting that be changed. I believe that there are some pretty serious things have happened to this child while the child was in the custody and care of her father last summer. And as a result of that, I would request that he have some kind of restricted visitation because of that, and that this court make specific orders to protect the child going forward. I believe he already has some kind of electronic visitation or possession access that in place already. If he does not, I believe that that's probably appropriate for a limited time on certain days each month. The financial aspect, I think, is fine. The current payment record that I have, that I believe the state will offer into evidence, shows regular payments coming in each week. So I don't think any adjustments need to be made to that. And that's all I have, Judge.
All right, folks, I'll only let lawyers make opening statements. At the end of the hearing, if either of you wish to make a closing statement or closing argument, you'll be allowed to do so. And the fact you represent yourself as a pro se litigant. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and let the ad litem, since he's the one with the most requests as far as legal remedies are concerned, call his witnesses. And again, like I said at the end, if either of you have anything else you think I need to know that didn't come out in your general testimony because it wasn't asked by the lawyers, so long as it's relevant, I'll let you answer. I'll let you tell the court that information. And again, also, if you want to make a closing statement or a closing argument of why the court should do a certain thing, then you'll also be allowed to do that also. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and swear you both in. I'm going to swear all three witnesses in, and then I'm going to let Mr. Brimhall call you individually. So at this time, everyone who's going to testify, please, at this time, raise your right hands and unmute yourselves. Thank you. All right. All right, Mr. Daniel, please raise your right hand, sir, and unmute yourself. Thank you. All right, do each of you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give here today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you?
I do. I do.
All right, you're all under oath in the state, and allow Mr. Brimhall to call you both, call you all as individual witnesses at this time. Mr. Brimhall, I'll call you first witness, sir. Thank you.
Judge, I would like to call the mother first just to get some base testimony, and then I'll call Miss Gibson so we can get her testimony taken care of. So I'll call the mother first, Miss Shanice Lee. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
All right, Miss Lee, state your full name for the record, ma'am.
Shanice Lee.
All right, thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Brimhall.
Okay. How are you related to the child of this case?
Her mother.
Okay. Do you have any other children?
I have an older daughter.
And do you have any other children with Mr. Daniel that are not listed as part of this case?
No.
Okay. And how old is Amelie?
She's 5 now.
Okay. And when this case was started last year, how old was she?
4. She had just turned 4 that spring.
Okay. And prior to that first temporary order, what was Mr. Daniel's involvement in Amelie's life?
Very off and on, some timey blue moon kind of a deal.
Okay. Was it more than once a month or less than once a month?
Probably less than once a month.
Okay. And how did he reach out to contact you about scheduling a visitation period?
He would probably text her. Text would probably be the only way, really.
Okay. So in a 6-month period, or I guess in that 4-year period, would you say it was 10 times that he visited or more?
In the 4-year period, it was probably more than that, but that was more towards the beginning, the very beginning of her life.
Okay. All right. Now that first temporary order, it put in place a summer period of possession for 30 days, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And did you turn the child over to Mr. Daniel for that 30-day period?
Yes.
And do you recall what 30-day period that was?
It was between June 1st and July 1st.
Of 2023?
Yes.
Okay. And during that time period, were you able to call and talk with the child?
The first week, yes. After that, no.
Okay. Do you know who else was staying with Mr. Daniel at that time for that 30-day period?
Centuri Jackson, the girlfriend at the time.
Okay. And does she have children as well?
Yes.
And do you know how old the child in question was as of last year?
The child that
Her child, Miss Jackson.
and then I know of Janelle, the 6-year-old daughter, and I know that his son Aiden. I know of those two.
Okay. So her 2 kids were 6 and under 1. Is that what you just said?
The children that I know of. I believe there's more.
Okay. Now, when was there any difficulty in having Amelie returned to you at the end of the
Yes.
period?
Well, at the very end, no. Mm-mm.
Okay. Were there difficulties in seeing Amelie during that 30-day period?
Yes.
Okay. What were they?
My phone number was blocked, so I couldn't contact her. I had to use my house phone, and then that number got blocked. There was no FaceTime, of course, because my number was blocked as well.
Okay. Prior to going on the summer visit, well, let me ask you this: when you got Amelie back, did you notice any change in behavior from her?
Yes, she
And what was the change in behavior?
extremely scared of the dark, not wanting to be alone at all. She stopped going to the bathroom. She wouldn't want to take baths. She did a lot of temper tantrums, a lot of screaming, hitting, which she wasn't a violent child before that. So she came home hitting a lot. And
Okay. Were you made aware of anything that happened to her during that 30-day period?
she told us when we got home that the 6-year-old daughter, Janelle, had sexually assaulted her. I don't know if y'all need detail, but she also
Okay.
stated that Centuri also was hitting on her through a shoe or hit her with a shoe, a large shoe.
Okay. And all of this occurred under the roof of Mr. Daniel. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I'll pass the witness for now, but I do have more questions for the mother. I just want to have that information out before I talk with the counselor.
All right, I'll go ahead and allow you to take the witness out of turn and go ahead and get the testimony from Ms. Gibson, and we'll come back to Ms. Lee. And at the end of your testimony of Ms. Lee, I'll allow the other two, the state and I'm sorry, and Mr. Daniel to cross-examine if they wish. So at this time, go ahead and call your next witness, please.
Okay, I'll call Miss Jennifer Gibson. Can you hear me?
Ms. Gibson, will you state your full name for the record, ma'am?
Jennifer May Gibson.
All right, thank you very much. You may proceed, Mr. Bremal.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. And were you able to hear all of my questions and all of Miss Lee's answers?
Yes, sir.
All right. How do you know Amelie Lee?
I am her therapist at the Children's Advocacy Center.
And when did you start meeting with Amelie?
In April.
Was she meeting with someone else at this center prior to April?
No, we did intake at the end of March, and then we began services in April.
Okay. Was there an intake done in December of 2023?
I believe that maybe when she had her forensic interview done, but she did not start therapy services until a few months later.
Okay. What's your job at the Children's Advocacy Center?
So my role is to offer therapeutic interventions to allow children to process trauma that they have experienced.
And what kind of certifications or credentials do you have?
I am a licensed master social worker. I'm also a credentialed victim advocate. Yeah.
Okay. And regarding when you first met with her, did you administer any kind of trauma tests or anything of that nature?
Yes. So during our intake process, I did complete 2 assessments.
What are the names of the assessments?
The trauma symptom checklist for young children, TSCYC, and the child and adolescent trauma screen, the CATS.
And were you able to review the results of those?
I was.
And just so the court knows, the 2 different tests, what is the format of the test?
So the TSCYC is 90 questions that the caregiver completes. It is a 1 to 4 scale, with 1 being never, 2 being sometimes, 3 being often, and 4 being very often. And as those scores are calculated, it indicates several different areas of concern. The CATS is 34 questions that are also completed by the caregiver due to the age and development of the child. And that has a maximum score. The clinical significance score is 12.
What kinds of questions, for example, are asked on the TSCYC test?
The TSCYC asks if the child is experiencing bad dreams or nightmares, if they are not doing things that he or she was supposed to do, if they're having trouble sleeping, if they're living in a fantasy world, if they are over-sexualizing people, objects, things like that, if they are afraid of the dark.
Okay. And did you administer both of these tests, or did you just review the results?
So I did administer those to Mother.
Okay. And the results, for the one, for the TY, what did you call it? There was
TSCYC. I know it's a mouthful.
TSCYC. For a normal individual, what's a normal score that would show no concern for anything?
So under 60 would indicate no clinical significance or very little.
Okay. And for an individual that had experienced trauma, it would be higher. Is that correct?
Yes, and they're based on the way that the assessment scores. The score could be as high as 112.
Okay. And so the highest possible score is 112? Is that what you just said?
Yes, for
Okay.
each area that it indicates.
Okay. And what are the areas that it indicates? What areas is it? And I'm assuming by indicates that's what you're testing for. Those are the areas that you're testing for. Is that
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay. So what are the areas that it indicates?
So, post-traumatic stress intrusion, which is the level of intrusive or unwanted memories. PTS, which is that post-traumatic stress arousal, which is increased emotional response. PTS avoidance, the use of avoidance strategies. PTS total, the amount of total post-traumatic symptoms being experienced. Sexual concerns, anger and aggression. Dissociation, which indicates detachment or withdrawal from the external environment. And anxiety, which is the amount of fear or worry being experienced.
Okay. And do you know what the individual scores were for Amelie as it pertains to all of those areas?
I can look here. Yes.
Would you please, announce what the scores were for each of those areas?
So for sexual concerns, it was 110. For that post-traumatic stress total, 110. Post-traumatic stress avoidance, 110. Post-traumatic stress intrusion, 96. Post-traumatic stress arousal anxiety, 95. And then the anger and aggression, that did not show, it showed clinical significance, but not at that level. So if you look at the sheet, it is listed there, but it wasn't at that level.
Okay. So in your experience, how do you begin to process scores when they're that high? What steps do you usually take to treat individuals when their scores are that high?
So first we have to figure out what happened, what the trauma was, and then we work on reducing the re-experiencing and all of the concerns that is listed in those behaviors.
Okay. How many times have you met with Amelie?
Probably 25 times.
Okay.
I don't know the exact number, but it's quite a few.
Okay. Is it roughly once a week or every other week? How frequently is it generally?
It's generally every week.
Is there a particular day or is it vary?
Yep, Thursdays at 8 a.m.
Okay. Did you meet with her this week?
I did not.
Okay. And last week?
Yes.
Okay. Has in the course of your various sessions, has she stated anything to you that would cause you concern about her mental health and well-being?
She has exhibited certain symptoms, but she has not expressed a lot of trauma. She has expressed 2 incidents that happened.
And what were those?
That Janelle kissed her on the cheek and that Cinteri hit her with a shoe.
Okay. Has she ever talked about the matter that Miss Shanice Lee briefly alluded to and testified about?
No, other than the kiss.
Okay. And have you directly asked Amelie about that incident?
So I have used a chart to try to determine if anything sexual in nature has occurred, and she has always denied it using that chart.
Okay. How does she react when you ask her about that incident?
She just says no.
Like, describe her demeanor if you could.
She is very adamant. And Amelie is a very forthcoming child. She likes to assert herself and tell you exactly what happened, what she thinks. She's very clear and she speaks very clearly. And in those cases, when we would try to talk about this, she just says, no, nothing happened. That's all.
Is it a quick no as a way to avoid talking about it?
Yes, it's a quick no.
Okay. Do you think she's trying to avoid talking about that?
It is possible.
Okay. Over your course of treatment with her, have you seen any kind of improvements in her behavior? What kinds of improvements are you looking, and what kind are you or were you looking for?
So ideally, I look for a child of her age to be able to state what happened in a clear way, especially a child with Amelie's speech abilities, and how articulate she is. I would expect her to eventually be able to say exactly what happened, when, where, who, all of those things. But in her case, in the last few sessions, she has become more tearful and she shuts down quicker than she used to.
And why do you think that is?
That could be an avoidance strategy.
Okay.
Just a way for her not to talk about it.
Has she talked about her father at all during your sessions?
Very little. He has been mentioned twice, I believe.
Okay. And what kinds of things did she say?
So one time I asked her if she had seen her dad lately, and she said that yes, and then she described that as joyful.
Okay. And did she say when that was?
She did not.
Okay. Do you have concerns for her mental health and well-being if she is allowed to go back to the location where the trauma is alleged to have occurred?
I don't have explicit concerns, but I do think that she needs to continue with treatment and be able to verbalize whether or not anything has happened for sure.
So, are you familiar with the Texas Standard Possession Order under the Texas Family Code?
No, sir.
Okay. Have you ever heard that term before?
I may have heard it in passing, but it's not something I'm familiar with.
So the Texas Family Code is the code that governs all of family law in the state of Texas. And there's a chapter within that code that is called the Standard Possession Order. And it dictates what the bare minimum would be in terms of possession and access for the non-custodial parent. And specifically, I'm going to summarize it. It says that the non-custodial parent should have roughly every other weekend, Thursday nights, and then usually 30 days to 42 days in the summer, depending on how far away the non-custodial parent lives. And then holidays are rotated, usually with one parent having 1 year and then the other parent having the next year. So that's what the Texas legislature has said is the standard for parents when there's no kinds of issues or concerns like the ones that we're talking about today. So in this case, where there has been this allegation of prior abuse, do you think it would be safe to have Amelie go there for 2 consecutive nights in a row over a weekend?
I can't speculate on that. I don't know of any confirmed abuse. Okay.
And for a summer period, another 30 days, you are aware that the alleged incident is to have occurred during last summer's extended period. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so if the court were to allow a regular summer period again, do you have concerns with the child being victimized during that period?
I don't have enough information to base that on.
Are you concerned at all that that this child will be victimized either by the father or by someone living with the father, or that he will take proper actions to prevent that from happening? Do you have any reason to believe that the child will not be victimized?
I don't know enough about the father to make any determination that way.
Okay. Would it make you nervous if there were normal standard visitation periods with her father?
So again, I don't know enough about father to have an opinion one way or the other.
Okay. That's not what I asked, though. I mean,
Mr. Graham, I'll move on. She answered.
Okay.
Yeah. I've done. I hate to say I've done probably 1,000 of these over my legal career, but I know it's more than 500. And what the lady's saying, she's only heard one side. She has to hear the other side to make a valid assessment. So yeah, it is what it is. So move on, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So let's jump back to the test scores. These were all, you said 110 for 3 of them and 96 for the other 2. What's the treatment plan going forward for Amelie, given these scores?
So the treatment plan is listed. Can you find it? It's to avoid the re-experiencing, develop and maintain communication with mother. And through that process, we would develop a trauma narrative with her telling what happened to her, how she felt about it, and any feelings, memories associated with that, as well as reduce her re-experiencing symptoms and her hyperarousal symptoms.
Okay.
Which is that heightened state of emotion.
Okay. And so if avoiding the places and locations where, so first off, do you believe Amelie has experienced some trauma? In your professional opinion, do you believe she's experienced some trauma?
Well, I know that she has experienced physical violence. So yes.
Okay. So to that extent, are you recommending that the orders that this court makes take into account that specifically?
I would ask them to consider that. Yes.
Okay. And do you believe that it would be best to have the child not go back to the same environment or circumstances that caused the trauma? Is that something you believe?
Potentially, yes. It could do harm to return to that environment.
Okay. And that's part of, I don't remember the exact terminology you used, but you said going forward, part of your treatment is to assist the child in avoiding, what term, I don't want to put words in your mouth. What did you say?
To reduce re-experiencing?
To reduce re-experiencing the trauma. And so what are the steps that you would recommend to have the child avoid re-experiencing the trauma?
Well, in my professional opinion, the first step would be for her to acknowledge fully what has happened.
Okay. And then what?
And then make sure that she is not put in that position around those people, those situations that could be violent.
Okay. And so certainly, okay. All right. Regarding the best ways to protect Amelie, what do you think the best ways are to protect her?
Make sure she has supportive people surrounding her, that she continues therapy services and address what she's been through.
Do you think she needs to, if she is going to visit with her father, do you think it would be helpful for her to have someone she knows, like her mother, accompany her during the visit?
I do.
Do you think it would, and so that could be anyone that she's familiar with. So it could be a relative of hers or a neighbor or someone like that. Would you think that would be okay?
Yeah, whoever she identifies as a support person in her life.
Okay, someone that the child trusts, is that
Yes, sir.
accurate? Okay. And do you believe that having a support person or a person she trusts would mitigate or potentially reduce the chance of trauma reoccurring?
I do.
Okay. Regarding, so let me ask this. One of the things that the court has at its discretion is to make custom visitation plans. And part of that customization can include the requirement that periods of possession be supervised by a third party or the mother or someone else. Do you think that if the court imposed that requirement of supervision, that would assist the child in not re-experiencing trauma?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Brimall, you need to speed this up a little bit.
Okay. I'm getting there, Judge. I think I've asked all my questions. Regarding, I'll pass witness for now, and I'll turn the witness over to Mr. Diamond.
All right, before Mr. Diamond gets started, Ms. Gibson, how much longer do you anticipate the child being in coming to your facility and undergoing the treatment and the therapy she's going through at this time? Is this something that we're going to be doing just for another couple of months, or is this something we're going to be doing for a year? What are we talking about?
So I made a referral with mother to play therapy due to the child not progressing on the normal track that children do in this center, and to get her a specialized level of care that might be able to address what she has experienced a little bit further.
So we're looking at obviously some continuation here going forward. And ma'am, in your therapy sessions and so forth and so on, you said play therapy. Does that ever involve the either parent being present, or do y'all try to work the parents into this type of circumstance, or just exclusively work with the child?
Yes, we do conjoint parent sessions occasionally.
Okay, but in this case so far, you haven't done anything with Ms. Lee?
We have done a few. All
right, but you have not done anything with Mr. Daniel, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, would it be beneficial to the child and to your obvious and your plan going forward that Mr. Daniel be included in at least in some type of therapy, or in some type of come in also and do the same kind of things that Ms. Lee has been doing for the purposes of getting this thing properly evaluated, ma'am?
I think it's always beneficial to have both parents involved in therapy. I think the key here is addressing whether something has happened with him or not before that is permitted.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Diamond, your witness.
I don't have a whole lot of questions, Ms. Gibson, but the big one I have is the test scores that you've seen. Are they consistent with somebody that gets hit one time with a shoe?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there a check in your spirit about sending the child back to dad unsupervised?
I don't have an opinion one way or the other.
I'm not asking an opinion. Is there a check in your gut, in your heart, in your spirit?
Yeah, I'm gonna sustain her objection, Mr. Diamond. Next question. Thank you.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, then. All right, Mr. Brimhall, very briefly, anything else on redirect, Ms. Gibson? I'm sorry, Ms. Gibson, how Are we looking at something that you're going to be doing probably at least through the end of the year or through the for the next 6 months? What are we talking about here, time frame wise?
So if she stays at our center, I can keep her for another 6 months if needed. However, if she does need play therapy specific, then we will terminate services whenever that starts.
Okay. All right. And when we all probably make that decision one way or the other to get a transition to play therapy or to keep her?
That is at mother's discretion right now.
Okay.
Whenever she tells me we're good to go, then we'll do that transition.
All right. Thank you. All right. Now, Mr. Brimhall.
Regarding any transition to a different kind of therapy or a different therapist, what is the level of communication like between you and the new counselor or therapist?
Typically, we don't have communication. She can request records to be taken, but we don't typically reach out and offer that.
Okay. So to a certain extent, would Amelie be starting from square one with a new therapist if she were to start play therapy?
She would be. They would be using different therapeutic techniques so that it would move at a different pace and in a different manner.
And specifically, what is play therapy and how does it differ from what you're currently offering?
So I primarily use trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a form of talk therapy. For a 5-year-old, talk therapy is sometimes very difficult, even when a child is as expressive as Amelie is. And so the play therapist has other tools. She uses art, bibliotherapy, lots of different manipulatives to help the child express themselves in a different way.
Okay. And are you making the recommendation for this play therapy because you believe she's avoiding talking about things?
I made that recommendation because Amelie is not communicating with me anymore. And so I want to make sure she has every opportunity to express herself fully.
Okay. Now, regarding if she were enrolled in a play therapy that started the 1st of August, do you know how long that program would last or what the anticipated length of that program would be?
I do not, because every modality has a different time frame that it works in. And so I can't guess on what they would use with her.
Is it possible or not possible for Amelie to maintain counseling with you and to do play therapy?
No, our center doesn't allow for multiple therapists.
Okay. But I guess it's your recommendation that she start that sooner and not wait more months. Is that correct?
Yeah, sometimes if there's too much of a gap in between services, the child just becomes complacent and doesn't want to talk at all. They completely shut down.
Okay.
And so I don't want her to shut down completely.
Okay. And so you would, I think you said this in your testimony, but is it your testimony that you would continue meeting with her until you received confirmation that a new therapist had started a new regimen of therapy, whether it's play therapy or something else?
Yeah. Up to about 6 more months, I could do that.
Okay. And why 6 months? What's the cutoff?
So our center is 6 to 12 months. So, and then we allow a little bit more for that transition to termination of services. So that puts us right about there.
Okay. Long term, do you think therapy is important for Amelie to process all of the trauma she's experienced?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you have any kind of estimate on
Mr. Brimhall, move on, sir. It's time to move on, sir. Thank you.
I guess my question was, I mean, do you expect she'll be in therapy for 2 years or 5 years? Or
She can't answer that, Mr. Brimhall. I know that. So, like I say, I've done this about 500 times, sir. So yeah. And it's been a while, but I know the answer to that one already. She cannot project or even begin to estimate that. So, especially with a new therapist. So, yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Judge.
Not a problem. I know.
All right. I'll pass the witness.
All right, then. Mr. Diamond, anything else?
Judge, I'd like to I know the court overruled or sustained the objection. I'd like to get it on the record. So may I have an answer on the record to Miss Gibson's my question to her about if she has a check in her gut or her spirit about sending the child back to Mr. Daniel?
I'll go ahead and let her have it, but I think I know the answer to it already. Repeat the question and let Ms. Gibson answer it. Thank you.
Okay, so my question is, Ms. Gibson, I guess it's somewhat of an emotional question, but is there a check in your spirit to sending this child back to live with Dad without knowing more?
I don't know enough about Dad to make.
I'm not asking you to think. I'm asking you to feel.
Mr. Diamond, that's her answer. That's it. Let's move on. Sorry, Mr. Diamond. I know what the answer. Again, that's the answer I would expect from a trained therapist. You see, they can't give gut feelings, sir. That's outside their realm. They get professional information, and professionally, she's given what she feels like is the appropriate information at this time. So I'm not gonna allow that question myself, Mr. Diamond. She just can't do it. I know how this works. So thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Judge, I do have a hypothetical question.
No, you don't. We're through. I'm sorry, guys.
I mean,
and I need to hear from I'll let you wrap up your testimony with the Ms. Lee, and then get some information from Mr. Daniel, especially about the current circumstances of who he's with and so forth and so on. Right. But this time, I'm going to let Ms. Gibson go and proceed with the two parties as witnesses, because obviously we're still looking at further temporary orders. This is not going to get finalized today, because again, I've got 3 question marks in a row here on my docket sheet. So yeah, this is going to be a further temporary order. So let's not do hypotheticals. I know she's an expert witness and she can testify to hypotheticals. But since it's obvious that this child is going to have to transition to another level of therapy, we're going to get that therapist in here and let them tell the story going forward. And if you have hypotheticals of that person, then we'll see whether or not they'll be appropriate, and we'll proceed at that time. So anyway, is there anything else factual that you need, a factual question you have, Ms. Gibson, at this time, Mr. Remo?
Just pertaining to the other test, the CATS test that you testified about, is that what is that test for specifically?
So the CATS is the Child and Adolescent Trauma Screen. So that tells us the level of trauma symptoms the child is experiencing. Those symptoms are re-experiencing, avoidance, negative moods, cognitions, arousal, and then functional impairment.
Okay, and what, for a normal individual not experiencing trauma, what's a normal score?
Under 12.
Okay, and have you been able to review the results of that test as it pertains to Amelie?
Yes, her score was 41.
Okay, so I guess is the test.
The judge could do math. Okay.
Okay.
Right, next question.
All right. So I mean, it goes without saying that's a very high score. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And what are the main takeaways from that kind of a result?
That she is likely exhibiting these symptoms of re-experiencing the trauma, avoiding or having negative ideas about it, and she has increased emotional response.
Okay. And is the treatment for those the same as what you've already testified to?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. And are there periods that you retest or that you reevaluate, that you give the same test and reevaluate?
Yes, a minimum of every 6 months.
Okay. And have you done a retest for those or no?
I have not yet.
Okay. Is that
6 months up on that, ma'am?
That was my next question.
No, it is not.
I think y'all just started back in April, so we're about month number 4 now, right?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. When's the next test? Okay. Are there additional tests that you have not yet administered that you might administer if therapy were to continue through you?
No, sir.
Okay.
These are the 2 that our center uses.
Okay. And are there different tests that the play therapist would administer that you anticipate a play therapist administering?
Potentially. I'm not familiar with what assessments they use, but there could be.
Okay. Judge, I would like to ask my hypothetical question.
Court's now in recess, and Ms. Gibson is free to go. We're off the record. Thank you. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Mr. Brimhall, no. Again, I've got enough. We're off the record.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Judge.
Anyway, I'll start back in about 10 minutes, folks. I got to take a break. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Gibson. We appreciate that you gave the court a lot of useful information. Thank you. All right, let's get back on the record. And we are back on the record on cause number 367-E. So at this time, Mr. Brimhall, are you going to recall, are you going to go back to Ms. Lee at this time, or are you going to call your next witness, sir?
Yes, if I could finish up with Ms. Lee.
All right. Ms. Lee, you're still under oath, and you may proceed at this time, Mr. Brimhall. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Lee, were you able to hear all of the testimony with Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Okay. This court made an order that cut off in-person visitation between Mr. Daniel and Amelie. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so, do you recall when the last in-person visitation period was?
That summer, 2023.
Okay. Has he had, and by he, I mean Mr. Daniel, has he had the ability to do any kind of electronic or video visit?
She has an iPad that has FaceTime. He can call her on that. And they've spoken on there a couple of times as well.
Okay. How frequently, or when was the last time?
I think the last time they spoke to each other was a couple months ago, maybe.
Okay. How does he usually arrange those?
He'll call her tablet, or he'll call my phone and ask to speak with her.
Okay. When they talk, how long is it usually for?
That's not too long. Maybe about an hour, if she doesn't get distracted with toys and stuff and walk away.
Okay. When was the last, maybe I asked this, but when was the last time there was a video visit?
Let's see. May? Maybe? In May?
All right. Do you, regarding in-person visits, would you feel more comfortable if those visits were supervised?
Yes.
At least at the outset going forward?
Yes.
Okay. If those visits are going to be supervised, would you be able to do the supervising?
I can.
Okay. Are there other individuals that you believe would assist you in supervising if you needed someone else?
Yes.
And who are some of those other possible individuals?
It would be her godmother, Jasmine, her Aunt Shy, or my mom, or one of my aunt as well. She can do it too. She has a pretty big support system.
Okay, very good. And all of those people live in Bell County, is that right?
We're all in Temple and Killeen.
Okay. What is Amelie involved in any kind of regular extracurricular activities, soccer, t-ball, anything like that?
She is a part of the Rising Elite Dance Cheer and Tumble team. So she does that. I think it starts here in September. She does that every other weekend. She has competitions.
Is there practice in the middle of the week for the
practice? Right now is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and when school starts, that schedule will change.
Okay. And is she going to be starting kindergarten?
She's a kindergartner this year.
Okay. Do you know what the change in the schedule will be once school starts?
It'll probably, the days would change during the week. So if it's not Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, it'll end up being 3 different days out of the week.
What
Not
time
sure
is it?
it depends yet.
What time is that dance training?
Practice right now is from 5 to 6:30. 5 to 6:30 right now. During school, it'll probably change from 5:30 to 7 or something like that. Be a little longer.
It'll shift backwards about a half an hour.
Yeah, it'll shift back a little bit.
Okay. Is the practice at an indoor facility or outdoors?
It's indoor.
Okay. All right. Has Mr. Daniels ever attended any one of those practices or anything like that?
No.
Okay. At the facility that it's at, do you have to check in when you check in, like as a parent?
We're all pretty close knit. Is the dance team's not real big, so
Okay.
as long as you walk in and the coaches see, okay, mom's here, that's your check-in.
Okay. All right. Do you know if Mr. Daniel, if he showed up though, they wouldn't turn him away, that he would just be able to watch? Is that right?
I'd have to let the coaches know.
Okay. All right. Apart from the tumbling, is there any other after school activity that she's in?
At this time, no. That one takes up most of her time.
Okay. Regarding therapy for her, I know you heard Miss Gibson talk about future play therapy. Are you in the process of finding a person that does that?
Yes, we're going to be look at this Longview group. I think that's what it was called. Lakewood Counseling and Pathways Group.
Okay. And where are they at? Do you know, like what city they're in?
They're located in Belton or Temple.
Okay. And have you been able to contact? Have you talked to them yet about setting that up and all that?
I haven't talked to Lakewood. Pathways needs her. I don't think Pathways takes Medicaid, so I would have to get a private insurance for them. Lakewood might take her Medicaid.
Okay. And for now, she's just seeing Miss Gibson on a weekly basis.
Yes, every Thursday at 8 a.m.
Okay. Okay.
All right, ma'am, if it continues through the school, when school starts, what time changes are we looking at for Miss Gibson?
No time change. We would just take
Still
her.
at 8 a.m. on the school days. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, I know it's hard to predict the future a little bit, but do you have kind of a deadline in which you want to have her enlisted in a different therapy program or?
I want to have her in at least by September 1st, since August is like right next week. So I'm going to make sure that I'm completely prepared for her to go to therapy.
And then okay. So for the month of August, you anticipate she'll continue meeting with Miss Gibson?
Until we get her to the other one.
Okay. Do you believe that's a reasonable goal, or do you believe there's going to be any kind of delay in getting that set up?
No, I don't believe there will be.
Okay. Do you know if there's availability at those two places for her?
At this time, not right now, but I can find that out in the morning. Sure.
So you're not sure as of right now, is that correct?
Not right now.
Okay. Okay. Do you work on Saturday or Sunday?
No, I'm off.
Okay. What's your work schedule?
Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30.
Okay. Is that's a consistent schedule every week?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is it that you do generally?
I do health and life insurance.
Okay. Do you work from home?
Yes.
Okay. So, is your job flexible in allowing you to take time off to go to take Amelie to therapy or to? Okay. Are you
sorry, Bob, I need a verbal answer on that. I can see your head nodding, but the recording cannot. Thank you.
No, did I not say? Yes. Yeah. Yes, it can.
Thank you.
So to a certain extent, are you able to like work in the evening if you have to take different hours off during the middle of the day?
No. After 4:30, 5 o'clock, we're closed.
Okay. But if you like for today, like you've missed a couple hours of work, are you gonna have to make that up in the evening or on a different day or something?
If they allow the makeup time, yes, but that probably won't be until our open enrollment season when we get overtime.
Okay. All right. All right. I'll pass witness.
All right, Mr. Diamond, your witness.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Brema. I'll call your next witness, please.
I'll call Mr. Daniel.
All right, Mr. Daniel, please unmute yourself. All right, Mr. Daniel, state your full name for the record, sir.
Alexander Daniel.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Mr. Brema, your witness.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Prior to your summer possession last year, how many times had you seen Amelie?
I haven't.
Okay, so
Misunderstood the question. Restate, please.
sorry.
I think he misunderstood the question. Go ahead and restate the question. He said, Mr. Daniel, he wants to know before you started having summer visitation last year, how often were you seeing your daughter?
It's supposed to have been every other weekend, but I wasn't getting her every other weekend.
Okay.
Because I wasn't able to.
Okay. So prior to the first court order, you're saying you wanted to see her every weekend, but you didn't? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I wasn't allowed to.
Okay. And during that 4-year period, were you in constant communication with Miss Lee?
No, sir. Not whenever I wasn't able to see her because I wasn't getting anywhere. So I kind of got frustrated. It might not have been the best course of action, but I'm human. So I wasn't able to overcome my feelings with everything that was going on at that time.
Okay. Now, the individual that you were dating last summer, Miss Jackson, are you still dating her?
No, sir.
And is she residing?
I believe it's on record since November, when we had court in November, that I wasn't with her anymore.
Okay. Is she still residing with you?
No, sir.
So where are you staying at?
I live in Copper's Cove with my father.
When did you move to Copper's Cove?
Maybe a month after the first CPS case that Miss Lee tried to put on me.
So you were living on Eastside Drive in Killeen, correct?
Correct.
All right, Mr. Brema, let's not go on the addresses going forward. We're on Zoom.
I'm not
on YouTube, so you remember that thing.
I'm not saying any specific. I just the street.
Yeah, I know. You hadn't so far, but I want to make sure you don't even ask. Okay.
Okay. But where you were living on East Side, that's where you were living last summer. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And last summer, when you had Amelie for 30 days, you were living with Miss Jackson and her daughter. Is that right?
Yes, correct. And my older brother, who wasn't working, he also was living with me at the time.
Okay. And when was your child with Miss Jackson born?
August the 5th.
Of last year?
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, not August. I'm so sorry. May the 5th. My mind is everywhere.
Okay. So it was 3 adults and 3 children that were living there last summer?
No, it was 5 children and 3 adults.
Who were the other 2 children?
Miss Jackson has a 13 and a 14-year-old.
Okay. When did you break up with Miss Jackson?
I just told you a month after the first CPS case that Miss Lee tried to put on me.
Sorry, sir. We need dates and times, approximate times. So early November, late December, that sort of thing.
I believe it was like late September.
Okay.
Of last year. And
Correct.
When did she move out at that same time, or did she move out before then?
She moved out like a week before the CPS case was brought about.
Okay, and so I'm trying to get a good timeline. You moved to Copper's Cove in December, is that what you said?
No, I moved to Copper's Cove in like early October-ish. Sometime in October for sure.
Did she move to Copper's Cove with you, Miss Jackson?
No, sir. She moved to her sister's house in Killeen.
So the month before y'all separated or broke up, y'all physically separated? Is that accurate?
No, I said after the CPS case was brought about is when we separated.
I'm trying to get a timeline of months here. Stop referring to this.
I just told you it was the case was what, August, so it was in September.
Okay.
So we broke up in September, and I moved to Copper's Cove like the beginning of October.
Okay, but you said she moved somewhere else.
Correct.
Before you moved out. All right. What's your level of contact with her frequently, or like currently? I mean,
to see my son. That's about it. Nothing past that.
Does she stay at your present residence at all? Overnight?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. What was the reason for your breakup?
Well, mainly because I seen that what Shanice's whole angle was using her to keep me from my daughter. So I just nipped it by saying that we can't be together because my daughter is more important.
Okay. And how did that? What was her reaction to that?
Grandma, I don't care what her reaction was. I just need the dates there. Come on. Stay focused. Thank you.
I mean, is she...
Mr. Grandma, I don't care about what her reaction was, sir. It's not relevant. I'm going to object. Relevancy. What's the relevancy of that question?
Okay, all right. Well, I'm trying to get an idea of how frequently they talk, how friendly they are with each other.
Ask that. Don't ask her about how she felt about the breakup. Come on. You can ask that.
All right. I'll ask a more specific question, Judge. How frequently do you and Miss Jackson communicate?
A few times a week, but not necessarily me and her communicate. She'll FaceTime me and she'll put my son on the phone. We don't communicate like within ourselves.
Do you consider her a friend, or is it pretty antagonistic between the two of y'all?
No, we have a decent relationship. It's not no bad blood or anything. She understood what my reasonings were and she respected it.
Okay. All right. Regarding all of the testimony from Miss Gibson, did you hear all of that?
Yes.
Okay. And what's your opinion?
Mr. Grimald, don't ask his opinion about expert testimony. That is not a proper question for a layperson. Thank you. You can ask him about facts, but not about opinion. Yeah. Thank you.
Do you believe your daughter suffered trauma while living with you last summer?
I do not.
Okay. So how do you explain her current need for therapy?
Well, there were multiple times that the police was called to the East Side residence. The police, a part of their them pulling up was to do a welfare check as well. And I do have the police reports that I could either fax in or bring to
that's a non-responsive answer.
No, that's kind of responsive, Mr. Grandma, but I'll go ahead, sir. Repeat the question, and sir, listen to the question. And obviously, if you got copies of police records or police reports, and you have,
they all say that my daughter was happy. They all say that she was fine.
I'll have you forward those to Mr. Brimhall, and he will get them into evidence. But at this time, sir, again, Mr. Brimhall will repeat the question, and we'll let Mr. Daniel answer it, please.
Okay, so my question was, how do you explain your daughter's need for therapy? That was the question.
Oh, no, that's the question I denied, sir. Move on. Next question.
All right. So, or is it your testimony that? Well, let me ask you this: do you believe there was any sexual assault that occurred while she was with you?
No, sir, not at all.
And you've never sexually assaulted your daughter? Is that what you're saying?
No, sir, not at all.
Are you saying Miss Jackson never assaulted her?
Correct, not at all.
And you're saying Miss Jackson's daughter never did?
Correct, not at all.
And you understand that at the very least, your daughter has said that Miss Jackson hit her with a shoe?
I don't believe that.
Okay. All right. All right. What kind of possession and access are you asking for?
I'm fine with the standard order that we had from the beginning.
Okay. All right, I'll pass.
Your Honor, I don't have any questions.
I'm sorry, Mr. I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything from Mr. Brown. Did you cast a witness, Mr. Brown?
Oh, I did, Judge. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. I'm sorry. You know, that's what happens on Zoom sometimes. All right, thank you. Any questions then, Mr. Diamond?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then. Any other witnesses at this time, Mr. Brimhall, or any recalling of either witnesses still here?
No, Judge.
All right, I got a question, Mr. Daniel.
Yes, sir.
Would you have any problem if you well, based on your scheduling, would you have any problem attending any type of counseling with your daughter that will be required of the current counselor or the next counselor in this in your daughter's life?
No, sir. I would have no problem with that.
All right, thank you. And sir, you said you did have police reports from prior incidents. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any correspondence from the CPS about the prior incidents, sir?
I don't have any paperwork from it. No, sir. Just
they didn't send you any letters about what they were doing in your case, or you said CPS was involved. They usually send letters, reason to believe, no longer services no longer needed. Have you ever received anything like that, sir?
Yes, sir. I received one from Bell County, and then after that one was closed, she went to Coryell County, and I have a closure from those as well.
All right, and you got closure letters from the in both those matters, sir.
Both of them, yes, sir. And Mr. Brimhall has them in his email as well.
I talked with the CPS caseworker, and she specifically closed it because they weren't able to get enough information to determine anything.
Okay, well, you do have the closure letters, so that it would state why they closed, correct?
I have one. I have a photo of one of them, and I can get both.
All right, we need to get those from both Coryell and for Bell County. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Brimhall. Now that I've asked Mr. Daniel, he would cooperate with a therapist. Any other questions you want to ask of him at this time, sir?
Just a couple of brief ones I neglected. Do you have a current driver's license, Mr. Daniel?
No, sir.
Okay, and what is your usual mode of transportation?
Right now, I ride with my brother or my father while I'm working on getting my license. I have to get my birth certificate to get it. I actually had a license appointment, and that's the reason why I couldn't get it, because I don't have my birth certificate.
Okay. And do you own a motor vehicle?
I do.
Okay. Where do you work at?
I work at Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Plumbing.
Okay. Is that the job you were working at last year?
Correct.
Were you working at a car wash as well?
Briefly, yes. Before this job, I've been at this one for about 9 or 10 months. One of the two.
All right, sorry, sir, you cracked up on us. I think your vehicle may be moving that you're riding in. So repeat, how long you been working at Ray Broker?
I've been working there for about 9.5, 10 months, something like that.
10 months. Thank you, sir.
Okay. And
proceed, Mr. Brimhall.
What's your income at per hour or per how much are you making per hour?
$17 an hour. $17.
And you have a total of 2 biological children, Amelie, and then one other one that's a year old?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have a court order regarding that child, or have you been to court regarding that child?
I don't, no, sir, I haven't been. I'm not on child support for him.
Okay. Is there any DNA testing that's been done as to that child?
No, sir.
Did you sign an acknowledgement of paternity at the hospital regarding that child?
I can't.
I can't understand you if you're talking. Did you cut out?
I said I can't.
I don't know.
Mr. Daniel, if you could have if y'all not going anywhere, that's really, really important. Could you find a spot where you got some bars, sir? Because right now you're moving and we're losing signal on and off, sir.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions.
All right, Mr. Diamond, any questions? Like I said, I think Mr. Daniel is, like I said, traveling in the car, so it's kind of problematic. But do you have any further questions? And we'll deal with the child support again. We're looking at further temporary orders here, so we'll deal with maybe the new child support amount going forward here. Yeah, we lost him. Yeah,
he's gone.
I was afraid of that. All right, let's give him a minute to see if he can get a signal back. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Hear you now, sir. Thank you. And we're still on the record, sir. All right, Mr. I think we're up to Mr. Diamond, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, and no questions.
All right, then. Mom's is talking about that she's going to be looking at changing over to play therapy. We're probably looking at something the first day of September. Right now, I'll go ahead and listen to closing statements and closing arguments. But obviously we're going to have to come back and looking at what we're going to do going forward as far as further temporary orders dealing with Mr. Daniel's access to the child. So I'll start with I know the state didn't have a dog in this hunt, so I'll go ahead and start with Mr. Brimhall, and I'll listen to what the state wants to try to do here today. And I may have a couple of questions to ask both parties after I hear what y'all want to try to do as far as the case is concerned today. And I'll start with you, Mr. Brimhall. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. I believe that there has been a traumatic event that has occurred to this child while the child was staying with Mr. Daniel. I don't believe Mr. Daniel takes that seriously and does his best to minimize and trivialize that, which causes me great concern. So my recommendation is that he have supervised visits on a Saturday or Sunday. The mother said she was available on either of those 2 days. I think limited access right now is going to be best. My concern is to have any kind of reintroduction of trauma that, as the therapist testified to, supervised visits would probably be appropriate and be good to help minimize and that reoccurring trauma. Regarding child support, I think it is in need of modification. Based on 17 an hour, the monthly gross would be $29.46.
I'm not going to look at the modification today, Mr. Brimhall. I've already stated that. So, but I'll have the state. I'll have to have Mr. Daniel provide a current pay stub or his last pay stub or his current pay stub or his next pay stub to the state, and I'll have the state get with him maybe in a breakout room to see about forwarding him a copy of the latest pay stubs, and we'll figure out what that's going to be after the next hearing. But for right now, this hearing was about the visitation, and I want to keep it at that for now. Thank you.
By my calculation, it would be about a $93 difference each month from what he's currently paying. Okay. He's currently paying $325 a month in child support and $57 medical, and I think the medical would jump to $133, and the child support would jump.
I'm not doing that today. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. There was no motion to modify the temporary order, so he's entitled to notice if y'all want to do something to the gentleman. Again, sometimes we do it freelance at this court, but again, proper motions are necessary, Mr. Brimhall. I didn't mean to take you out on that one, but again, I don't think anybody motioned to modify the temporary order, did they?
No, I mean, I would be okay finalizing it today based on.
Oh, I'm not.
But I
There's
would
no
like.
way. No, we're not finalizing this today. No way. Thank you.
All right. Well, then just regarding the visitation, my recommendation would be for some kind of electronic visit once a week. I think after 7 and before 8 would be workable on Wednesday maybe, and then either Saturday or Sunday with 48-hour notice for a couple of hours at a public park. Supervised by mother or someone else that she designates.
All right, and Mr. Diamond, anything in closing, sir?
Waive closing, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Lee, you said you can have third parties available to do your visitation, ma'am, for in your state. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Again, well, for right now, I don't want y'all to. Well, I want you to. I'm going to go ahead and order some temporary visitation, and I'm going to check with him in just a moment. But I want a third party, ma'am, to act as your intermediary as far as that's concerned going forward. I don't want you two to have any interaction until we try to start getting to the end of this thing. So if I'm looking at, first off, Mr. Daniel, Sunday evenings or Saturday evenings, what works best for you at this time, sir? Because I'm looking at giving you a couple hours every week with your child, and I can do it. I hate doing it during the heat of the day, but it's Texas. It is what it is. So if I was to do something on Sunday, Sundays, sir, would that work for you?
That's fine. That'll work.
All right. So I'm looking at, and the norm is I usually do a couple of hours. So I'm looking at from say 3 to 5 or 3 to 6 on Sunday as far as visits with the child in the park. And Miss Lee, which city do you live in, ma'am?
I live in Killeen.
All right. Well, I like the park in Harker Heights, right off the highway there, off of Knights Way. I like that the park right there. Is that something that you and your people can make get the child to, ma'am, easily enough?
I think the Lions Park in Killeen would probably be the best one because he lives in Cove and I'm on the back side of Killeen, so that would be like a.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking about the last kid. I thought he was living in Belton, but yeah, okay. All right. So
at Lions Park in Killeen.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So so you and your people can make that done. You get that done, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
All right, then. And Mr. Daniel, I'm looking at starting it this Sunday and going every Sunday on that, and then FaceTime visits with the child on her pad every Wednesday. Ma'am, I'm sorry. Right now, you said the training, the gymnastics is what day of the week?
Right now, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday from 5 to 6:30.
All right, so I'm looking at having Wednesday at 6:30 for FaceTime visit. I'm sorry, on the iPad and his phone for 30 minutes every Wednesday. And like I said, until further of the court, we're looking at Sundays at the park starting at let's start at 3 and go to 5:30, 2.5 hours. And of course, you and the chaperones, sir, can agree to go somewhere else if y'all want to go get a snow cone or something like that, or go to have a burger or something like that. Y'all can all agree to do that, okay? But right now, I'm looking at making it at Lions Park. God, I haven't been in Lions Park in years. I'm not sure. Is there a specific facility or a specific area, ma'am, that you're aware of that I should make the meetup at, please?
My son just had soccer camp there. There's quite a few different places. There's 2 different pretty good play areas for kids that are 5 and 6 and whatnot. And then there's a number of soccer fields and whatnot. So my recommendation would be in front of like the kids' playground area.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and you know exactly where.
I can text like GPS coordinates to both parents. Okay.
All right, let's do it. Yeah, I was going to say, can you go ahead and take a picture and then send those GPS?
I'll just get the GPS coordinate. I'll just get the GPS coordinates from Google and send them to both parents.
All right, good enough. All right, like I said, we're going to start that this weekend and going forward. Here's the deal. I'm sorry. I'm gonna order. Are y'all using App Close yet, or did I order that already?
Yes, we use App Close.
All right then. All right, Mr. Daniel, I will. I want you to send a message by App Close to Miss Lee on Sunday that you're that you are going to do your visitation and you'll do that by noon. And I want you to let her know by noon on Sunday that you're going to do it every Sunday. And when you're on your way out the door, I want both of y'all to confirm that the child's on their way and you're on your way also via App Close, sir. Okay.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. We'll have to reconnect on there again because at some point when I went into the app, it logged me out. And once I did log back in with my email, it won't allow me to message or anything on there.
All right, then, Miss Lee, you'll need to fix that, please.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll send them both an email. I've never heard of that happening, but I'll certainly send an email to both, and they can. It may be something they have to contact AppClose about, but
or open a new account, or open up a separate account and start all over again. That's sometimes you just got to reboot these stupid things. Okay.
So the notice is just due the day of by noon.
Yeah.
And failure to send it by noon forfeits the visit.
Yeah, Mr. Lee, Mr. Daniel, you gotta let her know about. You can do it anytime. But you got to do it by noon on Sunday. That you are going to do your Sunday visitation. You can do it anytime. The day. You can do it on Saturday, the day before, or whatever. But you need to do it before noon. That you're going to do it. And if you don't do it before noon on Sundays that you're coming, then the visitation is going to be canceled, sir. Okay.
And Judge, just to clarify, I have had this issue come up before, but if the parties want to relocate to, say, a McDonald's,
I just said that they can do.
But specifically,
no, not the parties. The meetup is going to be at the park, no matter what. So I won't. We're not going to put a wild horse in this circumstance. If they want to go somewhere after the meetup at the park, that's fine. But I'm not going to change the meetup spot. Okay.
Correct. But the child should drive with the third party.
Oh, whoever's the mom uses the third party, the child will drive with them if they decide to go to a different spot. Not a problem.
Okay. Because I've had, believe it or not, I've had non-custodial parents in this situation.
Oh yeah, Mr. Brimhall, you don't think I don't believe that?
I've had that issue come up, and
if they're going to change spots, then the child goes with the party that the child that's transporting the child. No problem.
Okay. All right. That's all I wanted to clarify.
May I ask a question, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
So I don't know Colleen real well, but I'm seeing a Lions Club Park at 1700 East Stan Schluter, and then there's also a Lions Neighborhood Park at 1301 Culp Avenue.
It's the Stan Schluter one. I'll send you the GPS coordinates so you can put it in the order.
Perfect.
All right, folks. I'm going to look at a reset date for an update on the child's new therapy and the therapist and the possibility of dad getting involved in the therapy. But obviously, I'm going to be looking at that in September. So going forward, I'm looking at leaving this as a temp, and we can also look at the child support amount at that time to have dad send the state the new child his information as far as his pay stubs are concerned. Like I say, I'll let you and Mr. Diamond get that information. I'll stop YouTube and let y'all get that information as far as it's necessary. But for right now, I'm looking at doing this for at least the next 60 days, which means that puts us toward the end of September, where we can get an update on what we're looking at as far as any therapy going forward and whether or not I'm going to be dealing with a MSW, a psychiatrist, or a psychologist. And because there are different standards I'll be looking at, so it would depend on what we're doing and what type of professional we're going to be using. So let me look at the docket.
Do you want to put it on a Wednesday, like another special day, or on a general day, like at 10:30?
I'm looking at a special setting date where I can get that information. Because again, I know we probably got a couple of dates that you're going to be appearing on already, Mr. Brimhall, but I want to go ahead and look at a special setting where I can get some orders done real quick and everybody out of here real quick. So
I know October 2nd is your in-person day, but I'm here on that day. So you probably want to put it on that day.
I would ask that we not do it that day, Your Honor. I'd ask that be an enforcement slot.
Yeah, I want to do it. I want to go ahead and leave it this on a separate Zoom code by itself, and I don't do Zoom codes or do anything on live docket days because it's not necessary. Because I don't by statute I don't have to broadcast on YouTube. So there you go.
Maybe like October 4th, maybe on a Friday.
Well, right now I got nothing on Wednesday the 25th of September. I've got no special settings anywhere. Is that a special? Is that a? I don't. Is that my other Coryell? No, that shouldn't be Coryell County because that's a third. That's going to be that's a fourth Wednesday.
The court. I think your Coryell Day is on the 18th, September 18th.
That's what I show as well, Your Honor.
So I'm looking at Tuesday the 25th, and I've got nothing morning or afternoon. We could make it a late afternoon, so Mr. Daniel can work all day and not have to miss much time. So I can set this on the 3:30 time slot, and that way, like I said, you can get most of the day's work in, and that way you can. Mr. Daniel, if I was to set this at 3:30 on September the 24th, would there be a problem, sir?
Wait, did you say the 24th or Tuesday's the 24th?
Tuesday's the 24th. I'm sorry, Wednesday the 25th at 3:30 or 4:30, sir. Could that work for you?
Yes.
Okay. And ma'am, I understand what you're based on your schedule. By then, school's going to be starting, and but you're still doing your job. Would that still work for you, ma'am?
Yes, I can make that happen.
All right, so I'm going to use the same Zoom code, and I'm going to go ahead and take up 2 slots on the 25th, the 3:30 and the 4:30, just in case somebody's running late or we need to make it a little later. But for right now, I want to start it at 3:30, and I'll give it 2 hours just in case somebody's running late and we need to do it. What I'm going to be looking for at that time is an update on how the visitation is going from the parties. I want to look at on what the new therapy circumstances are concerning the child. And we'll look at whether or not there's going to be going forward from that date modification of child support based on dad's new income information. So
I do have a question, Judge, if I can.
I was getting ready to ask because both of you represent yourselves. What's your question, sir?
As far as the FaceTime visits go, I actually do FaceTime her a little bit more than what she let you guys know. I actually talked to her yesterday and pretty frequently. Am I only able to talk to her on that day, or if she calls me, I can still talk to her?
Technically, sir, y'all can get greeted at any time or any day, but under the court order, the child has to be available on those Wednesdays. Okay.
Okay, so if she did call me though, I'm okay to answer it and talk to her.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Court order that you get that. All right.
Okay.
All right. All right. And this coming week for this week's visit, I want to go ahead and say Dad's going to be there, obviously, and so you don't have to send notice for this coming Sunday, sir. But going forward, you do have to send those notices. But for this coming Sunday, you just need to send the one out that hey, I'm on my way, and same with her. Okay.
Okay, that'll work.
All right. And Mr. Brimhall's going to send y'all the coordinates. And all right. So, sir, and I'll go to you in just a second, ma'am. Any other questions, sir? Anything else?
No, not for me. Y'all been pretty straightforward with everything.
All right. Ma'am, do you have any questions or anything else?
Not at this time, Judge. No.
All right, then, Mr. Brimhall, anything else, sir?
No, I just can announce the coordinates. It'll be in the order, but it's 31.6 degrees by negative 97.
Nobody's gonna be able to write that down. Just send that in an email.
It'll be in the order, but if you type it into Google, it'll take you right to the front. Once
it's in the order, or you send it in an email, they can do a cut and paste. Okay,
that's what I'll put it in an email for both of them, and then they can copy and paste it. And if you put it into whatever map app that you use, it'll take you right to the front of the.
Yeah, if you're using Google or if you're using Apple or whoever, so yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so I do.
Understand, Mr. Brimhall.
That's it. Nothing else.
All right, Mr. Diamond, any questions?
Well, yes, one, Your Honor. May I try to follow up with Mr. Daniel another time because I'm on the next setting as well. All
right, then. Good enough, then. Thank you. All right, then. But for right now, again, Mr. Daniel, get a copy of your next pay stub, the one you're going to get either for this week and be able to. And I tell you what, Mr. Granville is sending you an email with the coordinates in it. So you'll have his email address. So send a copy of that pay stub back to him, and he'll forward it to Mr. Diamond. Okay.
Okay, I actually have my current check stub for this past week that I can go ahead and send to his email today.
Good enough. As soon as you get that, just respond with a copy of that. All right.
All righty.
All right. Thank you, everybody, very much. I'm sorry to give you the bum's rush, but I do have another 3:30. I'm understanding Ms. Farris still in a jury trial, but I'll figure it out in a moment. All right. So I got to go to my next hearing. Thank you, guys. We're all.
Thank you, Your Honor.